Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, where I have entitled it Layers of Straw. And that's essentially what you're going to see in a variety of clips here, is piles and piles of straw that are coming out of the snow. Some fresh straw that we're still putting on. We are still having sub-zero weather, so we're still adding straw to the exhibit. But as the snow melts, out comes a lot of the layers that have been put on over the last several months. So apologize for the delay in YouTube's. We did have a server issue. I wasn't able to access any of my files, but I am now back up and running. And you can see Luna here enjoying something in the snow. Could be an old balloon, it could be, who knows, a pig's ear, something. But there's something down in that lower layer of ice and straw that she's interested in. So she's doing real good. We have typical pup wrestling going on. And just as a reminder, they're reaching a year of age. Bolt's birthday is March 17th, and Luna's birthday is March 25th, and they are going strong. They spend a lot of time wrestling with each other and engaged in typical pup social behavior, although it doesn't look all that social with Bolt's. He's really getting kind of sometimes the brunt of Luna's a little bit more aggressive behavior. As the only female, she doesn't have much for limitations. Bolt's has got a couple of males that kind of keep him in order. But Luna and Aiden have been spending a little bit of time dominating Denali. And we're still trying to figure out rank order here. It's hard to tell who Luna really associates with or aligns herself with. She does spend a fair amount of time chewing on Denali. Of course, that's Denali getting himself into some of these situations by coming over and maybe trying to dominate the pups a little bit, and then Aiden putting an end to it. But Luna is very, very intent. And here's Luna on Denali, and Aiden's coming in, kind of doing a couple of quick jab bites, more or less just kind of squashing him a little bit. Denali doesn't care much for that. You can see his tail is tucked, and he's definitely not liking being on the bottom of those two. But it is these two that seem to lead some of the dominance. Aiden, like I said, controlling at any time that the pups are involved and are making any kind of noises. So if Luna or Bolt's gets out a squeal, Aiden's right over there. But Luna is asserting a lot more dominance independently, and certainly with Aiden, but also independently, meaning she doesn't need Aiden's assistance to be able to put Denali down, and that's quite surprising since Denali is quite a bit larger than she is. But again, that's kind of the nature of the rank order here, is that we will see dominant females who, especially with being the only female, have those opportunities to assert themselves regardless of size. And Bolt, he's a little bit more timid, so he kind of stays out of it. And it doesn't, even though it looks like Denali's kind of down and out and doesn't like that kind of behavior, that's certainly not Denali's life. Denali gets himself involved in those interactions when he starts to interact with the pups, but he has plenty of relaxation time, and he certainly is not consistently on the bottom of the male rank order. That may come for him someday, but that's not the case these days. So over in Grizzer's enclosure, we have plenty of straw as well, and typically with Grizzer, when we start to film, we do have him kind of right in our back pocket. One of the questions that was asked, because there are times when people observe wolves eating snow, we do provide water. We provide a heated water all winter long, so they don't have to eat snow. They choose to eat snow. The waters are cleaned on a regular basis. They're maintained every day. They're heated, so they're constantly a fresh supply of water is always available. So Grizzer, like I said, typically gets a little bit excited when staff come in, do a little bit of a rollover, does a little play bow, tries to get the staff to interact. Of course, we're trying to film for YouTube, so we don't always have the time to interact. That leads him to go jump and run and race around. And you've seen these racing sessions before, but we typically see them on a daily basis with Grizzer. And again, we are seeing something a little bit not concerning, but something that we have to deal with in the management issue. Grizzer is getting a little bit shy of strangers. So the Working for Wolves program, and we actually will be working in the exhibit pack as well as be working in Grizzer's enclosure. We're going to have to be mindful of that. Participants don't go in with the wolves. We try to maneuver the wolves or move them off to another part of the exhibit and lock them off while we're working. We're going to have to be real mindful of how we work around Grizzer. He is getting a little bit shy of people, and that is the same is true for Shadow Malik, in that they have their staff that they interact with, and that's who they like to visit. And because they are retired and they get a little bit of privacy, they're becoming less and less tolerant of strangers. So we'll definitely, that is one of the priorities of that program, is to make sure that our work doesn't negatively influence the wolves too much. And so what we see as staff may not always be what people see who visit and who work around the outer enclosures, which is why we are fairly restrictive on what these older animals and retired animals kind of get exposed to. But other than that, like I say, Shadow Malik doing really good. That was Malik who was investigating the camera there. He always likes to give a close-up of the camera. We did feed them a deer torso, and again, we're a little low on deer, and we actually are canceling the last 2 feeding programs to the public because during the last 2 weeks of March here, we're going to need to manage with more frequent feedings of chicken because we don't have a lot of large roadkill left, and so we're going to save a few of the roadkill and manage that later in April and May when we have a higher volume of traffic here. But we did want to give Shadow Malik a deer. They hadn't had one for a while. They've been getting a chicken diet and a beef diet and beaver, and so we gave him a torso, and this is all that's left. The head you might have seen in an earlier clip with this vertebrae, and then the head was torn off, and now just the vertebrae, and they're going to continue to eat that. So these guys, whenever we get a chance, we like to give them large carcasses to eat. That is something that they do enjoy, and you can see here the jaw capacity and the power that these wolves have in those back molars to be able to break open bones and just eat them. And so that's a deer rib, deer vertebrae. They had finished that actually in about 1 day. It was about a 50-pound torso. We took the legs off for the exhibit pack, so Luna and Bolts could have some deer legs. Fed the torso of about, was like say 40 or 50 pounds, and they finished it off. So that's it for this week's YouTube. And again, may have noticed that we did get some temporary webcams up on retirement as well as on the exhibit, and hope to have something a little more reliable, a little more permanent in the future. But right now, priorities number 1 is always wolves, and then technology comes next. So thanks for watching. Have a good night.